Hello guys, welcome back to your second episode in your chapter 2 lecture series, and our topic for this presentation are chemical bonds. So let's get started. All right, so first thing we need to figure out is what kind of atoms are going to form chemical bonds, and the answer would be atoms that are reactive. So we need to go through and look at what makes an atom reactive. And so that's what we can see here. These are three examples of reactive atoms. So I have carbon and oxygen and then sodium atoms drawn for you here, and you can see the atomic numbers for each of these. So of course that was telling me my proton number, and then remember we are going to assume proton and neutron and electron numbers are the same. So the way that we know whether or not an atom is reactive is by looking at the outermost shell, which can also be called the valence shell. So when we look at carbon, we see that it has 4 electrons in the outer shell. These are unpaired. This shell is incomplete. So yes, that's going to be reactive. Okay, do the same thing for oxygen. Notice that in the outermost shell, we have 2 unpaired electrons. So again, reactive. Look at sodium. There's only 1 lonesome electron in that outermost shell, so definitely reactive. So it doesn't matter how many shells we have or how many total electrons we have. The question is just, well, look at the outermost shell, look at that valence shell, and use that to determine whether or not your atom is reactive. So if you were having trouble seeing what I was pointing to, look at carbon has 4 arrows there, so it needs 4 more electrons, and oxygen has 2 arrows, so it needs 2 more electrons. And look at sodium. Oh my goodness. We're going to talk about what sodium does here in the next presentation. All right. So now we know that chemical bonds are occurring with atoms that are reactive, meaning they have unpaired electrons in the outermost or valence shell, and only reactive atoms are going to do chemical bonds. Okay, there are 3 main categories of chemical bonds that we're going to be talking about. The first is the ionic bond, which we can remember by the phrase transfer electrons. Next, we have the covalent bond, which is going to involve sharing electrons. Now, there's a couple ways to share stuff, right? So you could do like a nice equal share, like you're told to do in kindergarten. This is called a nonpolar covalent bond. So the electrons are being shared equally. Or you can be unequal. So you can say, I'm going to take this whole package of gum and I'm going to give you 1 stick. I shared. It's not equal, but I shared. Okay, that would be a polar covalent bond, unequal sharing. And then the last type is called the hydrogen bond. And the key phrase here is going to be interactions within or between molecules. Now, I will give you a presentation for each of these, so stay tuned.